thank you. I know we're on the clock. I have a lot of material we're going to cover in a short period of time. Murphy happened with the projector. Has that ever happened to y'all? Happened just now. So in the 1960s, in the Vietnam conflict, when a position was overrun, the U.S. Army would screen the call broken arrow. Use the microphone.
Here, we can use this one also, if you want.
They would use the command. Can you hear me now? Yeah. All right. Thank you. It'll get smoother from here. They would screen the command broken arrow, asking for help from any and all available resources in the area. Even something as small as a Cessna overhead could spot the advancement of enemy troops so our guys could get out safely. The reason that ties back into this. Fix My Desktop has become Fix My Situation. We're not rebuilding desktops anymore. We're not putting in Pentium 2s, Pentium 3s. We're not putting in graphic cards. It's my ex knows where my text messages are. My ex knows what I'm doing all the time. They're able to see my emails. How is this happening? You just came back from DEF CON. You came back from B-Sides. Can you help me with this? And as I've talked to folks preparing for the presentation, every single one has said, yes, somebody's approached me for this exact type of request. And it's in our nature. We want to do something. We want to be able to provide the help to these people to say, even if I only have 10 minutes, I can at least give you a triage to start to mitigate the hemorrhaging of the data. If you don't have much time, or if you don't really want to get involved in the situation, Christopher Cox is a fantastic resource at goaskrose.com. There's another book, The Smart Girl's Guide to Privacy. Both are fantastic resources for just a limited interaction. As he said, I'm Will Baggett, former CIA officer and current digital counterintelligence instructor in Europe. It's actually weird to say that online now. I'm a former banker, fraud investigator, and I've learned that bringing all these together, the digital counterintelligence, the fraud investigation, and the operational security into a domestic situation, whether it's an abuser situation, a bad breakup, whether it's you or someone else, we'll just call it the adversary. This is a one-size-fits-all term. And as we go through this, we'll take the information security principles of data availability, data integrity, and data confidentiality to make that cool CIA triad, and we're going to rebuild it to make it control the environment, watch for identity theft, and data availability. The most important of these three is to control the environment. If you don't control the environment, your perimeter, your data, reporting identity theft and having a backup copy of the one drive that shows something horrific happened at home doesn't matter. And from this, we've got personal security, data security, and family disclosures. We'll touch on all three of these in a minute. The most important thing, though, if you are in a bad situation, or your person is in a bad situation, you get them off the X, you get them out of danger, you provide somewhere for them to go, you call the police. They don't have to stay in the situation. We had a meeting overseas, an operations officer met with an asset, it went south, and we were doing post-meeting analysis back in the office, and the station chief said, no bad situation ever got better by sticking around. That same motto can be applied to the domestic front as well. It's not going to get better. Make a choice to get off the X, to get out of danger, and move on. A couple of suggestions. If you want to get off the X, you have a bug out bag packed ahead of time. I see some people nodding. So I would keep your electronic devices with you, your credit cards, your ID, whatever that might be for where you live, copies of your computer and your phones, but is there stalkerware on these devices? That was a point that was brought up yesterday in the dry run. You might want to consider keeping a prepaid cell phone and your prepaid credit card somewhere else off-site, so even if you did leave the environment, you have a backup plan with your contacts in there so you have somewhere to go. And then the question comes, but what if they leave? And this is more of they've left. You're in the house, you're in the apartment, the condo, whatever. First things first, you change your passwords. And you don't just change your passwords, you call the locksmith. We've got a lockpick village out here. Locks aren't that difficult, but legally, if somebody breaks through the lock, when you've changed the locks and they've left the premises, the law enforcement is going to respond differently to that than someone just letting themselves back in the house. And change your garage door remote access frequency. A lot of people just have the button on your car, push the button, garage doors unlock, you're into the house. So you don't want to change that. And not even that, there's some garage door keypads that have the reset code on the flap. So if you forget your passcode, you just follow the steps right there and you can reopen the garage door. That makes no sense. It's very helpful if you've forgotten your code, but what if you don't want someone to come in your house? Security questions. So the locksmith's on their way. You have a known safe machine. We're just going to assume here for the sake of the talk, we have a safe machine. Change your passwords and your security questions, but it's okay to lie online. You don't have to use honesty when you have your security questions because the adversary knows the answers. So lie about things. Where's your favorite place to go on vacation? You might have gone somewhere that was terrible. Put that. Lie about information. What was your first car? 1984 Plymouth station wagon, the Chevy Roadster, right? Lie about events. Where did your parents get married? Botswana. I don't know. Something other than the truth that can be found on Ancestry.com. Winston Churchill said the truth is protected by a bodyguard of lies. That applies in this situation as well. There's no shame in lying to protect your digital privacy on all of your accounts. So the next thing I do is get on my Wi-Fi router, change my password, and while I'm there, I'm going to look to see if there's any other road access devices on the machine. Is there a Wi-Fi camera in the house? Is there a bug? Is there a listening device? First thing, take a screenshot if there is, then disconnect access. And the last thing I would do is keep a copy of the Wi-Fi router logs. This audience probably doesn't. Most people keep their cell phones named their true name cell phone, their true name's iPhone, their true name's Android. So if you have persistence coming into the house of the adversary's buddy, and then you see the device showing up on the network for the road camera, well, that starts to become evidence you can use down the road. Right now, you're the only person with this information, and we're going to talk about how to save this. And legal disclaimer, I can't begin to show you how to collect the Wi-Fi router logs of every model out there. So for perpetuity, look it up on your own, but this is just a marker for when people look at the presentation later. Remember to look it up, save your log, then we'll keep it off-site. Okay, your Wi-Fi router's changed. The locksmith's walking around the house. On my iPhone, I'm a Mac guy, for good, for bad, in front of a crowd. It didn't work. It worked fine at home, performance issues. I'm going to go to my settings, Apple ID settings, and down here, when you're online, you can see the number of places your iMessages are synced. So my messages are here, on my Mac Pro, and my older Mac Pro. So I get drop copies of my messages here, here, and here. That's great for me. I've had multiple people come to me and say, my ex knows what I'm doing, and just these two steps, we'll look and we'll see it's her iPhone, and then her ex-husband's iPad, her ex-husband's iMac. We take a screenshot for evidence, and then we disconnect them. Very simple. It's not high-tech hacking. It's common sense. So over here, find my phone. Nebula's iPad, Nebula's iPhone X, and Nebula's iPod Touch, and Nebula's MacBook Pro. Same thing, you've now got this beacon walking around with you that the adversary can see where you are and what you're doing. Turn it off, disconnect it. Next thing I do is make sure Share My Location is off. Family sharing is off. You don't need to share your notifications, your updates, your photos with a myriad of Apple devices out there. Right now, just keep it turned off. If you're on an Android, go to your recently used devices and we'll scroll down the list and see where you're logged in with your Gmail account. The same principle occurs with your messages there. Take a screenshot if you find your device, your messages are somewhere they shouldn't be, then disconnect them. And I think Google's a little bit more sensitive than Apple in that you've got Google Takeout. Show of hands, anybody familiar with Google Takeout? It's a log of everything you've done since you opened your Google account. Every email sent, received, deleted, draft, Wi-Fi location, map location, everything. And once it's gone, it's gone. So if the adversary has access to a shared computer, they download your Google Takeout, they have everything. So we'll turn that off. Facebook. Some people have heard of Facebook. I hear it's a social media platform. We'll go to account settings, security, active sessions. Where else am I logged into Facebook? Facebook is very invasive where they want you to have data being shared, so you're always connected. Take a screenshot if it doesn't look right. And there's one particular function of Facebook that would be damaging in these situations. It's your call data records. I believe it's T-Mobile and Verizon keep records up to 3 days of your SMS content. No other US cell phone provider does. Facebook, though, keeps your entire call data history, SMS history, to include your content, for at least up to a year. And that's something, if they have access to this, they've got the full body of life for what you've been doing. So you want to make sure that's turned off. And just to give you an idea, when I'm saying change passwords, how easy is it to recover? If you have a Mac, you open Keychain. I've got Infuse 2017 here as an example. Click on the Wi-Fi password. We'll come over here, click on Show Password. We'll put in our system password. If it's a shared machine, they know what it is. Right there in clear text, the password for Infuse 2017 was guidance. Methodology is rinse and repeat for your Gmail, your Twitter, your LinkedIn. Wherever you've saved this password, it's going to be readily available for clear text recovery. So you want to make sure you delete it. And when I say persistent and thorough, a neighbor bought a 65-inch smart TV, bought it off Facebook Marketplace, and she found that Facebook, Netflix, and Amazon was still logged in by the previous owner. Persistent and thorough. We talked about risk of family and friends. If you're removing your digital footprint online, your family and friends need to know not to put your information online so that you're being seen and tracked. Oh, Betty went down to this restaurant, she wore a nice red dress. Well, now your stalker knows where you are. You're starting to control your data here. Ring doorbells. The X can see who's coming and going from your house unless you remove the password. Amazon Alexa, it records every time you've ever said, "Hey Alexa." It's got the data before, the data after, so they can watch when your other person comes and goes from the house. They can hear all the conversations around the "Hey Alexa." And not only that, if they still have access, they can disable your smoke detector, disable your burglar alarm. That was the plot line for CSI Cyber back in 2012. Financial risk. If you're going through this conflict, turn off your Amazon shared account so that they can't rack up your credit card charges, deplete your debit card. Because you're still connected together, you have implied approval. We still haven't touched anything that works with forensics or any coding. This is all just GUI-driven, very simple steps to take. On a Windows machine, you just go to View Printed File, and now whatever they've done, you can see the files they printed out before they left. Or conversely, if you leave a printer behind, they can see the data you've been printing to plot your escape. On the Mac, you go to Bar Spool Cups, and the files that start with D, this one over here, the D indicates it's a PDF that can be recovered. And the ones that start with C, their metadata is still available. You run a strings command against that, and you can see that this one file that was printed was a world market. Okay, great. However, what else is through here? And if I run something like a disk drill program to recover the deleted files, what else is there? So tracking. Show of hands, anybody heard of Superhuman? A couple of people. It allows you to see when the user opens the email, the geographic location and the ID, and the number of times they view it. So if you're fleeing the stalker, they enable Superhuman. They can see when you've opened that, and if you couple that with DocSend for Outlook, I can see how many times you've opened that PDF, the number of hours you spent on the PDF, and the sections you skipped. So if you're going through a legal battle, I can know how many times you opened the email, where you read it, what sections you're worried about, what sections you're glossing over. There's a very simple risk mitigation. Print it, work with paper. Another thing to consider is the man-in-the-middle real-world edition. Informed delivery by the post office. If you have the right credentials, like living in a shared house with somebody, you can see PDFs and JPEGs of all the incoming mail. So if we know you're getting a check, because I got a PDF saying you're getting a check from the bank, I know to open the mailbox on an exact day, take the check out, take the bank statement out, the attorney letter out, you've never received it. So you go to the post office, talk to the postmaster, very simple mitigation. Just be aware that it's there. As far as tracking, shared calendars. If you sign up for something like a TripIt, Travel Manage app, where your confirmation number, your travel itinerary is shared out to the world, if your ex was part of that getting this information, so if you book a trip, Delta.com sends this to TripIt, you're now going to have this shared out to the ex. Make sure that's turned off. Twitter spoofing. Okay, so tweeting from South Africa, Belarus, Hawaii, and Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Moscow, Dar es Salaam, that's great. That's obviously fake. I didn't travel that far to tweet. But what is true from keyinfoleak.com is the venue that I'm using. I'm using an iPhone. So use Signal, use Tor. The grug is right. But if your devices are compromised with something like FlexiSpy.com and your attacker is getting all of your data, use personal meetings. Leave the devices behind. Have nonverbal paroles arranged with family members. Putting yourself on Facebook with a red shirt might indicate to your friends and family that you need help to get out of the situation immediately. That would be something prearranged beforehand. So, has anybody ever actually seen a bug installed in the house? It's Murphy, and I'm running out of time. It's a great video. It's going to be online. Put the SD card in, cover the SD card, camera and microphone, connect it to power. Now you have your own personal bug in the house. The good side is you've got a triad, collection, power, and storage. If you're going to constantly broadcast and collect data, like this 1080p phone, that broadcasts over Wi-Fi to a cell device, but it needs constant power. Risk mitigation, unplug it, call the police that you're being bugged. The 720p air freshener runs on batteries, SD card, somebody has to physically collect it. Same for the USB drive that's actually a microphone. And what would come and go from a house? You give the kids a nanny cam. It goes to mom's house every 2 weeks. It shoulder surfs mom. She's all of her passwords, keystrokes, observed by the bear, goes back to dad's house. SD card comes out. And now you've got a mobile listening device in the house. All right, I get it. This is too much. I want to order a pizza. Even Domino's has your current location, your password, your credit card, and your new phone number. So when I say change all the passwords, I mean all, even the low-hanging fruit. So they've got close and continuing contact to you. There's a high risk of identity theft at this time for opening accounts in your names. The government has a great thing called IdentityTheft.gov. It's very binary. If you have identity theft, you log on a clean machine, you report it, you get an incident number, you're able to use that so that you have data availability. You don't have the implied consent because if it ain't documented, it ain't. You have to report things as they happen. So if you have the bugs in the house, if you have somebody watching you, monitoring you, report it to the police, report it to the authorities, report this, and keep your data. You have the only copy of this data in the world. So think PACE, primary, alternate, contingency, emergency. The primary goes to an attorney, backup might go to a safe deposit box, another copy goes to work, and the last one that you want to work with at home, That's great. If something happened at home, you've got 3 other copies stored somewhere off-site. In conclusion, you want to be firm, friendly, final, and fair as you approach this process and help the other person out. We have the stigma of being hackers. If we do something like try to get into someone's account, the law probably won't favor us because of what they consider our capabilities. Do the right thing, help them get off the X cleanly so that they're not being stalked and you're not putting yourself at risk by doing something that's unethical. The too long didn't read version, change your passwords, change your locks, report everything to law enforcement, and document events as they happen.
2 minutes for questions.
Okay, we've got 2 minutes for questions. Fight it out.
Is there any organization that works with people to help them go through this process?
Christopher Cox site. GoAskRose.com.
Go to the podium.
Thank you.
Podium.
Go Ask Rose has more more links to this.
Okay.
Yes.
I came in a little bit late, so I might have missed it, but did you talk about password reset questions? Spouse
Yes.
is going to know. Okay, cool.
Lie. Lie about your location, lie about life events, lie about intent, just lie. They don't have to be accurate. Yes, ma'am.
So I volunteer with a public library system, and I work with a lot of people who are in situations like this. And they also have like social workers who hang out in the libraries to help people with this. And a lot of times, you know, I don't have a system as nice as yours, but I try to talk to them about these things, and I just get that look of panic, like totally overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, iPhone settings, where do I even start? Like, it's so overwhelming for them. Do you have tips on how to
This will be
get
available.
them past that?
The entire presentation will be available.
Okay,
All right. Yes, the presentation will be available for that.
fabulous, thank you.
And thank you for what you do. That's amazing.
One more question?
So actually, it's sort of along the same lines as hers. Is there, by any chance, a single-page handout to, for example, put to make available in counseling services, like at my school, or sometimes they'll have things like the domestic abuse of violence awareness business cards. Please grab one. Is there a very small?
I know, again, I'm used to a small classroom, I'm sorry. Yeah, again, Go Ask Rose, they have all those resources. Chris has done a fantastic job.
All right, let's give it up.